Hey, middle-aged gamers, we are back at a new time, as I mentioned before last week or 2 weeks ago, roughly 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time or 10 a.m. in the morning Taiwanese time. We're a little bit late, and then we're talking about games and stories and some upcoming videos. Stay tuned for next week, Monday, August 11th. So on today's show, on Adam's side, we're going to be talking about Once Upon a Katamari. And despite me trashing Katamari like twice or three times on the show, I'm excited about this as well. Adam's also going to talk about a trailer that dropped yesterday or 2 days ago, The Adventures of Elliot, as well as new Sony patents. On my side of the show, we're talking about the early access version of Grounded 2, as I'm playing the original one at the moment, a game called Voidbreaker, and the unfortunate release of Tales of the Shire because it is not doing well at all. Stay tuned if you love Adam's opinions. I know I do. Stay tuned towards the end of the show. Adam will be talking about, do AAA companies not understand what that people liking your game equals people will spend more money? And the other question we sort of sourced today is, compared to other real life hobbies, how or why does gaming seem to consume and require more hours than any other hobby combined, yet feel less memorable? I don't know if I agree with that, but we'll see. Adam, tell us about Once Upon a Katamari.
I'm so excited for this game. I love Katamari. I've said it a million times before. Some of the best music in gaming. Whenever anybody asks the question, what's the best music in gaming? I'll say it's a really tough call between Katamari and Final Fantasy. But I might give the edge to Katamari, actually, because it is just way out there. So this is Once Upon a Katamari. It's our first Katamari game in a really long time. I think maybe the last one came out in, I don't even know, like, what was it? Maybe early PS4 era or something like that. Last one I remember is Touch My Katamari for the PlayStation Vita, which tells you how long ago that was. So yeah, we haven't had one in a really long time, but this looks like it's a true return to form, but they are mixing it up a little, which is very exciting. So the story behind this one, not that there's ever too much of a story in a Katamari game, but this time, guess what? King of all Cosmos destroyed the entire universe again, because that's kind of his MO. He had a scroll and he just kind of like, tossed it aside, smashed a bunch of stuff, all the stars are gone. Well, time for my son to pick up the pieces and fix everything, because that's how these games go. But somehow they always make it work, even though it's always the same thing. But this one is actually very unique, because this time you're going to be traveling through time to solve some of these stars and create these things. So not only are you just, going through a kid's bedroom and going through, a market or something like that, you're actually going to be going into the past. You're going to be going to maybe ancient Greece, ancient Egypt, different parts of the world. So, it's going to be able to change up some of the levels quite a bit. And we're going to be able to see things that we haven't really seen before. I think there was actually another Katamari game that did travel through time, but this one seems to be kind of the main focus of it, which is really, really cool. And it had some interesting game modes. Looking at the trailer, normally you might have usually it's just either get the Katamari big enough or get the Katamari big enough fast enough. And so, it's either, there's either basically a no lose situation, because, you just have to get it to a certain size and they time you, or they'll give you a time limit and they say okay, it has to be this size within this time limit. But this time you see things like it says, you have to collect a certain number of mummies or something like that. There's one that's rolling through a pyramid and you have to roll up as many mummies as you can in a certain amount of time. So that's pretty cool. Also, one of the big things that they advertise here is that actually there are going to be a lot of cousins. It says there are 69 cousins in this game. So we got all the old cousins, and we're getting new cousins, and we're getting customizable cousins, which is going to be amazing. So it looks like you can customize the little antenna on their head. You can customize the head itself, the body, the feet, their face. You can go through all their colors, and you can even name them, so you can create your own personal cousin, which is actually, to me, is kind of amazing, because, these guys are little funky little things. I think it's really fun that you're gonna be able to create your own cousin. I think that's super cool. I'm super hyped about it. Also, as I said, Katamari's got some of the best music out there, and they have, it says there's a bunch of new songs. They list 14 on the trailer. I don't know if that's the only 14 that they're going to have, or if there are more than that. Those are just the ones listed on the trailer, but we have at least 14 new songs. And this might irritate some people, but, it already right now is advertising that there is going to be DLC. The DLC, though, is going to be packs of stuff from older games, so you can get older costumes from some of the older games. But there's also a music DLC, and you get 60 songs from past Katamari games. So yeah, I'm definitely getting that one. And the way they kind of shake it up here, you still have your like kind of charged roll where you kind of charge up and, you know, go zooming off. I don't think we're going to have the stretching and squishing that we had in Touch My Katamari. You could definitely do that on Switch, or because they have a touchscreen, or you could do it on PlayStation because they have a touchpad. But on PC or Xbox, that might be a bit harder. So I am assuming they're getting rid of that. But they are adding items this time. So the 3 items that they show in the trailer are the magnet. The magnet's going to be pulling in nearby objects, so you don't have to directly roll over them. You just kind of have to get close, and it'll pull them in. They also have rockets, which will kind of like sit on the sides of your Katamari and help you push it, so that'll make you go faster. And they also have a pocket watch, which freezes time. So for example, if you've played these games before, you know a lot of times you have things that are like jumping up and down, or they're spinning, or they're kind of rotating around, or doing all sorts of things, you know, like you might have a bird that kind of flies around the room in a circle or whatever. If you get the pocket watch, you'll freeze time so that those objects will just freeze in time. They won't move, so it'll make it a lot easier to get some of these moving objects. So that's pretty cool. The hub world looks a little bit different here. It seems to be kind of like a little village that you can kind of run around in and interact with. It shows the Prince of all Cosmos is, you know, firing off a cannon, or it looks like he's going fishing and that sort of thing. So it looks like we might be getting some mini games in there, or at least some interactivity. And it also has up to 4 players, which I don't think a Katamari game has had up to 4. It's definitely had 2, but I don't know if we've ever had up to 4 before. It says that there's a 4-player PvP. So what you can do is basically it puts you in a room and everyone's rolling around trying to get as big as they possibly can and see who can get there the biggest. So that's really cool. Now, I don't know if they have co-op. I really hope they do, because I love Katamari games that have co-op. That's always great and amazing. So I'm really hoping they get some co-op, but we'll see. And yeah, so this whole thing is coming out October 24th. So actually really, really soon. I'm super excited. So it'll be coming out like right as I'm leaving for America for, yeah. But it's, yeah, unfortunately, that is unfortunate for me. But also, that's prime Ghost of 𝙬𝙧 time. I don't think I'm going to be finished with Ghost of 𝙬𝙧. But I'm telling you right now, this is probably the game I'm going to be playing after Ghost of 𝙬𝙧. Like, this is pretty much a given for me. So I'm super excited about Once Upon a Katamari coming out October 24th. Check out the trailer. Looks amazing.
2 questions, right? Could this be done with a 3 reviews and 3 acts? God, I already forgot.
A review in 3X?
A review in 3 acts, yes.
Yeah. Although I'm not sure if yeah, you could definitely do it. I mean, you could do anything in that, but yeah.
But it wouldn't be like a 5, 10, 30 hour or 5, 15, 30, right? Because Katamari games aren't that long, so it'd be much shorter.
No, you could definitely do it in a 5, 10, 30 hour. You can definitely get 30 hours of a Katamari, no problem. Yeah, no, it's just that I've played so many Katamari games before that I know what I'm going to be in for. So it's like within the first 2 hours, you're like, okay, yeah, it's going to be more of this for the next 30 hours.
And
so
last
you might not have as much to say about it, because I'm like, yeah, you know, I already knew this was coming.
That would be a cool take. What are cousins?
Okay, so you have your main character, that's the Prince of all Cosmos. He's the son of the King of all Cosmos and the Queen of all Cosmos. And so he's the main character of the game. He's a little green dude. He's got a little antenna on his head. His head is super wide. And so he's the one that rolls the Katamari. But if you're playing 2-player or multiplayer, you know, you don't want everybody to play as the prince. So they have cousins, which are alternate little dudes that can help roll the ball. So if you don't want to be the prince, you can be one of the cousins. So basically it's just a extra character skin. It's just a different character skin basically for you is the cousins. Yeah. And each one has their own unique properties, you know. Some of them have 4 legs. Some of them are really, really tall. Some of them are shaped weird. I saw that they have one that does not have legs at all. It's actually a brush. So he just has a big brush for his lower half. So yeah, they get weird. But yeah, they're just the little characters, yeah. And if you have, if you have either Katamari Damacy reroll or Katamari reroll, if you have either of those, then you can unlock the King of All Cosmos, the young King of All Cosmos skin, so you can play as the King of All Cosmos as his little child form. So
Very cool. No, I totally expected something else, something different from the way you described it initially, but just being a skin, that's cool because well, when I was younger, I was not much into skins, but I think after playing Warframe, I'm like, yep, I want to dress up my Warframe, or I guess in this case, you're dressing up the Prince of Old Cosmos.
you're just switching you're just switching the character. I mean, it's like
The functionality is still the same.
the
but
functionality is identical. You're just playing as a different guy. Yeah, you know,
okay,
yeah.
so it's like more than a skin because you're not playing as the same person. You look totally different.
You look totally different. Yeah, I mean, there's two characters. You say, do you want to be the prince? You know, it's kind of like, do you want to be Mario or do you want to be Luigi? You know, it's like the same thing.
Right. Got it. That's a good comparison.
Yeah, and I mean, Luigi's not necessarily a recolor. He's taller, he's thinner, you know, he's got a slightly different voice, but gameplay-wise, identical. Yeah.
Do you think will this be like a $70 game, do you think?
I don't know. I might be up for pre-orders. I could see it being a $70 game. Yeah, I would have to double check that, but
Sure,
let me just double check real quick, see if it's up on for pre-orders yet. Let's see. Well, I'll just type in Katamari. Katamari.
I can also have a Google.
Might be up on Steam. Once Upon a Katamari, 1,190 NT. So it's like standard price, yeah.
$40 on Steam.
Yeah, it's like a pretty normal price. Let's see, does it have English? Probably not, because Bandai Namco likes to screw me. Of course, they don't put the language settings on. Of course they don't.
Dude, you got a nice computer now. Now you just play it on PC?
No. I'm playing this on PlayStation like I played all my other Katamaris. But I will be buying it on my US account because Bandai Namco, I don't know what they're doing. They are so weird. Yeah. Ugh.
All right. Moving on to my first story of today. So again, I apologize for the camera angle. This is totally new to me. I literally, while I played with this phone before, I did not practice recording or imagine how this was going to be. So if you're watching this video later, yes, this should be fixed by the end of this week, if not today. So Grounded is back and it's bigger and weirder than ever, but how much has it really changed since the first game? So you might have seen this, right? If you follow Obsidian on X, if you follow Obsidian on YouTube through the community forums, you'll see, yes, they announced Grounded 2 was coming into early access. It was released. People are loving it. It looks way better. Like, you just look at the first trailer. It's like, oh my God, this looks beautiful. So the first game, right, you were in the backyard. In Grounded 2, there's entirely new zones with different environments. You're able to traverse vertically in more ways than you could in the first game. There are hidden areas as well. They're expanding the storyline from the first game. So still trying to figure out like the mystery of the shrinking tech and how the whole, Honey, I Shrunk My Kids thing came about. The AI has been revamped because, again, if you played the first game, like I'm currently playing the first game with my friend Hans at the moment. And bugs are decent, but like, for most things, you could just run away from them and they won't pursue you. Or if there's a bunch of bugs together, they're not going to fight as a group like you would imagine like insects to sort of be like, right? The base building is also better. So again, this is literally because I'm playing the first game. I know how the base building is. And it's good. It's very comparable to like an Enshrouded or like that other Viking game I played late last year. Valheim, yes, thank you very much for that. So, but the new base building looks to be better with modular parts, able to sort of have things clamped together better, I guess, because in the current game, stuff doesn't really work with the terrain. Like you might build something on a terrain and you might see like little gaps, like, hey, why is that there? It should be there. So base building is a lot more flexible. The best thing about Grounded 2 is that co-op is seamless. So if Adam and me and a friend of his was playing in the States and we wanted to like do base building, right? Like let's say Adam's at work, his friend's at work, and I'm free because I'm usually free in the afternoons, right? Which is like the AM or like sleeping time for the US, right? And I could log into the game, I could play, and I wouldn't need, if Adam was the host, I wouldn't need him to be online. I wouldn't need a server. is that the world is shared between the three of us, which the game Valheim, but we had a server for Valheim, so that didn't count. So that is a really cool thing, because I know like I'm playing Grounded with Hans and he's the host. So if I have time during the week to like maybe cook some food or make some building materials or chop some grass or do the things that you would do in a co-op survival game, I can't do it because we need like a server, and there are no servers in Grounded 1 anyway, but like in games like Valheim, you needed to have or pay for a dedicated server, right? So that is really cool, because that allows you, especially if you're playing with family members or people living in different countries, that's really wonderful to be able to log in and use some time, so that when you are playing once a week or twice a week, like you've done all the crafting, you've made potions, you've done what you need to do, you can just focus on playing the game, having fun, exploring the story in the case of Grounded 2. So combat has changed as well. There are new enemy types, upgraded combat mechanics. So all the weapons in Grounded 1 have like different mechanics, but it is very simple. Like one weapon will do one kind of attack, but in Grounded 2, there's different kinds of attacks. There's elemental damage as well. You can sort of think of Dead Island 2, which is what I'm also playing at the moment, with electric attacks and acid attacks, that sort of stuff. And overall, the UI is a lot better. I find Grounded 1, the UI is verges on being a little too complicated, because I mean, there's so much going on in any co-op survival game, you know, with resources, with crafting, what you can craft, what you don't want, or what you can't craft, where you're supposed to go, the map places, the resources, the buildings, and it's just a lot. Grounded 2's UI, from videos I've seen, looks much simpler, so the essential information is there. It gives you the option to dive in deeper if you want to, but for people who just want a very simple UI, it exists. So Grounded 2 is out on early access at the moment. I don't remember the price, but it is fairly cheap. We're talking $15 to $20 at the most. Check it out. Let me know what you think, and stay tuned for me playing Grounded 2 at some point in the future.
Yeah, Grounded always looked super interesting to me. I never was able to play it, but it did always look interesting. I love base building and that sort of thing, so it did look like something that would have been right up my alley.
No, definitely. I would say Grounded 2 more so. I was actually thinking of you when I was playing Palia, the like farming life sim game I'm enjoying, because they have really good building there, and people are doing the thing in Palia where like we don't care about the game, we're just gonna build stuff, and that's what a fair number of people are doing in Palia at the moment. But yeah, no, Grounded 2 would be a great game to play with your friends. The bug stuff is stuff I don't like, but they do have they don't have a bug friendly mode, but they have an arachnophobia mode in Grounded 1 and Grounded 2. But like bugs are like, I hate bugs, all bugs.
These are kind of cartoony though. I mean, I like bugs to begin with. Bug type is my favorite Pokemon type, but I mean these are kind of cartoony. You know, they like you can see like they got the angry eyes and stuff like that.
Yeah, no, I mean they don't look too terrible, but I just like this brings up like bad memories of growing up in Africa and like leaving your windows open and you come back at night and there's like bugs everywhere in your bedroom, which is not cool at all. Like all different kinds of things and things that will bite you and cause like a rash. And Africa is full of stuff that wants to kill you or eat you.
Yeah, we had chiggers were the worst. Ugh, they just getting like.
What are chiggers?
Chiggers are like these little tiny little bugs, and then what they'll do is they'll like they'll jump and they'll like get on, like especially around your ankles, and they'll like bite in. You just get all these little bumps all over your legs because they dig into your skin. So you get like clear nail polish and you put it over there and suffocate them out. Like, yeah.
So you were bitten by chiggers growing up?
All the time.
Oh God.
I know and their name is very unfortunate. It's an awkward name to say, but
yes, I just realized that.
Yeah, but I mean that's what we called them. So
okay.
Yeah, their scientific name is Tombiculidae, but commonly referred to in North America as chiggers and in Britain as harvest mites. They are nasty little things.
Oh, okay, mites makes it.
They're a kind of mite. Yeah, but they're awful. They're awful. They're so bad. So annoying. But yeah, so how does this like okay, so was it like we each have our own version of the area saved, and then when we finish playing or whatever, it saves it to the cloud, and then you download it from the cloud every single time?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
so it's
So
not like
there's like a cloud syncing sort of thing you might see on
okay.
Steam if you're used to that.
All right, so yeah, so instead of having a server where the game is technically always live, it's just you load a common save onto the cloud. Okay, yeah, I
Yeah.
think it's a good solution.
Yeah. No. No. Definitely. I mean, especially you play with your friends. I play with just one person and my brothers. Not having a host sometimes can be a bit of a pain in games where crafting and all that stuff is sort of essential.
And I'm guessing it'll do a check. So like if you get on and then you're playing and I get on and we weren't planning on playing together, but it'll look and it'll say, oh, somebody's currently in the world, so we're just gonna load into that.
That I haven't seen about that, but so I would assume it would do something like that.
So otherwise, you might get a situation where like you're doing something and then I log on and we don't realize that the other one's on. You log off, it saves, and then I log off, it saves, and none of the stuff you did saved because my save saved over it.
Right. So hopefully, now that's something to check in as well, because that would definitely cause issues especially with my younger brother and older brother, because London and South Africa are just an hour different. So sometimes they're both on at the same time, and I can imagine that happening.
Yeah, and they're like, I totally did this yesterday. I don't know. Look, it wasn't like it when I was playing yesterday. Like,
oh God, yes. Speaking of yes things, this looks
Yes.
really cool. Adventures of Elliot.
yeah, so Adventures of Elliot does look really cool. Oop, I hit the wrong button there. It does look really cool. It's Square Enix, and it looks like they're kind of going back to. I mean, they're doing another one of these 2D or HD 2D kind of games, like they did with Octopath Traveler, or I think Triangle Strategy kind of used it. But this time, rather than doing a strategy RPG or a turn-based RPG, they're going to be doing an action RPG. So this is going to be very similar to Secret of Mana, Legend of Zelda, that sort of game. So if you're into those sort of games, then this might be a game for you. So I'm going to have to make sure I check on my pronunciation here, because they throw a lot of words at you with some weird spellings. So this game takes place in Philadelphia, which it looks like it should be Philadelphia, but it's Philadelphia. I'm saying it right. So you're in Philadelphia, which is a continent, and this continent has been overrun with beast tribes. And if you're familiar with, recent Final Fantasy games, that word gets thrown around a lot, especially in Final Fantasy 14. So beast tribes are basically where you have your humanoid creatures that are, representative of some sort of animal. So, you have like your wolf people, or you have your chicken people, or you have your, lizard people. Those are the beast tribes. So anyway, this continent's been overrun with beast tribes, and you are living in the last human bastion, which is the kingdom of 𝙬𝙪. And this place is protected by a spell of safekeeping. So that's how humans have been able to survive, is they live in this one town. There's a spell that protects the entire town, so these beast tribes cannot get in and overrun it. And they just live peacefully within this one city. So anyway, you control Elliot, and you control his companion, Faye, which is a fairy. Appropriate naming there. But what's interesting is if you're playing single player, you can swap control between Elliot or Faye, but you can actually also play with two players where one of you controls Elliot and the other controls Faye. And they actually interact quite a bit. So for example, one of the things that they show is where they kind of can do this teleport where Faye can move to a certain position that maybe Elliot can't quite reach, and then Elliot will port to wherever Faye is. Or sprinting. It shows that the way sprinting works is Faye will get behind Elliot and push him because she gets the wind to her back, and so she's able to kind of magically push him into a sprint. And from what I read of the reviews, they say that's actually really kind of interesting because it's not like a normal sprint. So if you don't do it right, you could actually end up shoving Elliot into a wall because you pushed him too hard. So it's kind of interesting, so there's a lot of interaction between these two characters. I would be curious to see how well that works with two players. I could see this being kind of like an It Takes Two thing, or an Overcooked thing, where if you have a strong relationship, it's only going to get stronger. But if there's a little bit trouble, then that will come to the surface. But it looks interesting to me. But you can control it entirely with one single player, no problem. And basically, what you're going to be doing is you're going to be dungeon crawling like Legend of Zelda, moving around, checking out these different things, because somebody discovers some ruins that nobody found before outside of the city. So Elliot, being an adventurer, it's their job to kind of go outside of the city and collect what people need and discover more about the world. He is going to be discovering these ruins. And as the title might suggest, The Adventures of Elliot, the Millennium Tales, this game is going to be taking place across 1,000 years. Now, I don't know if that's kind of like, Elliot goes in and he comes out and it's 100 years later, and he goes in and he comes out, it's 50 years later, or if it's going to be more like a Chrono Trigger thing where you're moving forward in time and backwards in time. Not quite sure, but yeah, it is going to be, there's going to be quite a bit of time shenanigans in this game. So there's going to be 7 weapon types. The ones that they show in the trailer are swords, bows, and the chain and sickle, which is kind of like the kusarigama, which is a weapon that we're seeing in quite a few things recently. But basically here, what it is it's just a blade at the end of a chain, and you can swing it around in a circle around you. So, you just see Elliot kind of walking around and nothing can get close to him. But you can also use it kind of like Scorpion in Mortal Kombat, with your get over here. You can throw it out and grab an enemy and pull him towards him, and then you can finish him off with a sword or something like that. But those are only 3 weapons, and it says there are 7. So we are still missing another 4. You can also strengthen your weapons by equipping Magicite combinations, which sounds a lot like Materia, and this is a Square Enix game, so I mean that makes a lot of sense. So some of them are just going to be boosting your stats, like if you put a Strength Magicite on a sword, it's going to hit harder, but you could also put maybe like a Fire Magicite on a sword, and now when you hit enemies, they burn. So you're going to be able to customize your weapons a little bit there, so that's going to be a lot of fun. And it also has a block mechanic. So, I mean, parry mechanics are in every single game nowadays, right? Isn't that kind of the thing? That's the trend, is a parry mechanic. And this one has one too. But it doesn't look like it's going to be quite as difficult as you're going to find in like Wuchang Fallen Feathers or Stellar Blade or, something like that. This is a game designed for all ages. So, it's a much simpler, just kind of like block. And if you time it right, then it'll knock an enemy attack back. So if you've played maybe the Jedi Fallen Order games, something like that, like there you can put your lightsaber up to block, and if they're shooting the laser, if they're shooting the guns at you, and you block it, it'll just bounce off. But if you time the block correctly, it'll knock it back at them. So kind of like that, where if an enemy throws something at you or shoots an arrow, if you block, it'll just block. But if you can time it right, it'll knock it back at them. So that looks really, really good. And also looking at this, it looks like, it's a traditional kind of game. Everything kind of moves a little bit slower, so it shouldn't be too hard. So if you're the kind of person who doesn't like that mechanic, maybe try this out, and maybe it'll, maybe this one will work for you, because, it's not quite as demanding, probably not as punishing if it doesn't work either. So if any of this sounds interesting to you, there is a demo available now on Switch 2. It is not available on any other platform, which is unfortunate, but this game is coming to every platform. It is coming to Switch 2, PS5, Xbox Series X and S, Steam, and the Microsoft Store. So this is going to be everywhere, but unfortunately only the demo is available on Switch 2 at the moment. So go ahead, if you have a Switch 2, check out the demo. There's a survey you can take after the demo to give them feedback on what they can do between now and then, because this game will be releasing in 2026. So check it out, The Adventures of Elliot's The Millennium Tales.
I like the look of this. Like when you shared the trailer with me, I'm like, okay, this looks really cool. And I've been looking for a cozy game to play, and I'm like, okay, and I've checked out, like, there's a game called Discounty coming, and I just look at these like cozy games, and if it's not Stardew Valley, I'm like, man, this sucks. But The Adventures of Elliot, I will have to say, surprisingly did not turn me off. I'm like, this looks kind of cool, like kind of artsy in a way. And I mean, I guess the question I wanted to ask is, do you think Square Enix would ever make a pixel-style Final Fantasy game again?
Not a mainline one, no. I could see them doing, like maybe like they've been spin-off Final Fantasies in the past, World of Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles, what was it, Strangers in Paradise, so there've been, I could see them doing an offshoot. I do not see them ever doing a mainline numbered Final Fantasy in this style again. But I could see them doing something like if they were like Final Fantasy, I don't know, Crystal something. I don't know. I could see it, yeah. But
okay.
Yeah.
Like I think I would love like a new offshoot in the Adventures of Elliot style, like that's something I'd be down to playing and giving it a try. Probably would be nice on Steam Deck, but I'd do it on PC as well if I didn't have the Steam Deck choice.
Yeah, I could see them also doing, because they've done like with Final Fantasy IV, they did the kind of 3D remasters, or the I guess those are remakes or whatever, where they just took the old game and kind of put them in a little 3D graphics. I can see them doing something like Final Fantasy VI in this style. One of the things a lot of people have been asking for a Final Fantasy VI remake for a long time, and I don't remember which one of the guys came out, but they said Final Fantasy VI is just such a huge game. It would take 20 years to develop. It would take forever. There's no way we could ever do it. But I could see them doing something like, oh, hey, you know, if we do Final Fantasy VI in this style, and just, it's not going to be the Final Fantasy VII style remake, you know, where we're changing things. We're just going to overhaul the graphics, but keep basically the same game. I could see them doing that, yeah.
Okay. I will like it. Okay, so my second story for today, in this very weird angle that I'm filming in today, is Void Breaker. So Void Breaker is here to scratch that sci-fi roguelike itch, but it's more than just another flashy indie game with a laser sword. So this game, I think I had seen someone stream it or like make a video about it. Like, you know, a lot of studios these days like, hey, and again, you might have seen us doing it. We've been getting CD keys like, hey, do you want to try this game out? And like, there's no, hey, try this game out and we'll pay you X amount of dollars. Right? We're not at that stage yet. But to smallest YouTubers like us, it's like, hey, try this game out on your channel. And sometimes we've been getting a lot of like hard board gaming stuff, which is very weird because we've mostly been doing RPG games, and all the very successful Adam videos have been sort of role-playing games. So I saw this and I'm like, okay, cool. This looks really cool. It is a fast-paced roguelike action game with randomized levels. I like this, and there are games similar to this, right? Where I've seen like, but it's like very Twitch-based, very Call of Duty, where it's like shoot, dodge, shoot. This game seems a bit more manageable, which is why I wanted to showcase this. Sometimes I see games, I'm like, okay, this looks really cool, but this is not a game I can get behind because I would never personally play this because my reaction time is really, really bad. Like after Adam, again, bringing up Clear Obscure Expedition, but you told me about the quick time events and having to time stuff appropriately, even though they do have settings that you can change. I'm like, nope, I don't want to do that because quick time stuff really drives me mad. There's a Telltale Batman game, Batman, the something within, I forgot the name, the enemy within, something like that. I love Batman, as you can see, like with my background behind me, right? Lots of Batman stuff, but I will not play that game because there are quick time events in there. So that being said, coming back to this, right, is there are no quick time stuff, but this stuff, the game itself is very doable for someone with poor reflex, or if you're just getting older and you're not as fast as you used to be, right? And it is in that roguelike stuff, which I am growing to love more and more. With the exception of like maybe roguelikes going back 5 or 6 years ago, like I tried Everspace 1, which is really cool, but the progress you made between levels was not what it should be. You felt like I'm not getting strong enough, fast enough. So coming back to Void Breaker, runs are highly replayable, right? You have tons of mods, and this game as well, they make the emphasis of like, hey, we have so many weapons. They call it infinite weapons. I don't know how that works. Again, the game is out, but it's in early access at the moment, so there's not a lot of explanations like where do we get these tons of weapons from. So between run progression includes permanent upgrades, again, key, right? Because I don't like playing roguelikes where it's just like, hey, you need to get better. There are no permanent upgrades in this game. Nope, don't like it. New characters, there's a hub area for development. There's some story stuff there, very much like Matrix, like, hey, you're in the system and you need to escape the system. The game is, I wouldn't say it's very difficult. Like if you're somebody who grew up playing FPS games, you're fine. But again, it is early access, so they're going to work on that difficulty curve because some people have said, like, in the beginning, the game is pretty hard. I haven't played this yet, but that being said, right, the developer of the game is like, yes, I will work on the difficulty, so it becomes that sort of parabolic curve. So this isn't new, right? It's not doing anything new in terms of the genre and roguelikes, but it is sort of filling the gap of sci-fi, reasonably fast-paced FPS shooter game that looks cool, that sounds cool, has some really cool gun mechanics. Something to check out as well if you're looking for a roguelike shooting game. I can't think of anything else besides like maybe Hyper Light Drifter or Hades, but Hades is not an FPS as well. But I mean, to me, I think this is the maybe not the first, maybe the second shooting roguelike game out in existence. But if you played it, let me know down in the comments. I'd love to know.
It reminds me of that, what was that game? Ghost Runner? Is that the one?
Yes, Ghostwire.
Ghostwire, yeah.
Yeah.
Or is Ghostwire? It was Ghostwire. Because there's Ghost. I always get confused. There's Ghostwire Tokyo, and then there's the
yes,
other
so
one.
it's not Ghostwire. Maybe it is Ghost Runner.
I'm always like those two names. I'm looking it up now. Ghost Runner. Yeah, I'm thinking of Ghost Runner. Okay, yeah, because I was like, I know there's Ghostwire Tokyo, and that's different. But yeah, this kind of reminds me of Ghost Runner with the kind of like. I mean, I don't see too much parkouring here in the trailer, or what the video, but it kind of has that, you know, real fast pace, you know, shoot the gun, wall run or whatever, and kind of gives me a similar vibe. Although I don't think Ghost Runner is roguelike, but yeah.
But no, Ghost Runner is definitely in the same vein. I can definitely see the similarities of it, like where you need to do stuff in a particular sequence, otherwise you're dead.
Yeah.
So that's I can totally see that. Adam, tell us about the Sony patents.
Yeah, so Sony's got some patents out. It's they're kind of out there. So there's two of them actually, and I'm going to be talking about both of them. I'm going to start with the one that seems to be more recently filed, and then I'll talk about the one that was filed actually about 2 weeks ago. So I didn't talk about it, but so anyway, this new file patent coincides with what people were saying with the PlayStation 6, despite having much more graphically intensive games than the PS5 has, might actually not be much bigger than the file sizes that we're seeing on the PS5. And this technology is specifically supposed to address that. So this, so Sony basically said one of the biggest reasons that games are getting so huge is due to high resolution textures, because you know, maybe the mechanics or something like that, you know, those aren't what take up a lot of space. The textures take up a huge amount of space. And that's because if you have, like, say, a table, the traditional way that you would model a table is you would just have this giant wooden texture, and then you would basically slap each section of the table somewhere on this this map, and then they would, you know, it would map a part of that texture to the table. And of course, if you want your table to be high res, then you're going to need to have a huge file so you have enough space to slap every part of this table onto this texture map. And so because you have so many things like that, it's just going to take up so much space. So they're like, well, that's a problem. So what we're going to do is we're going to see if we can find a solution to get more with less. And that's what this patent is supposed to do. So the way the idea works is, instead of saying, okay, we have this texture for this table, and we're just gonna, you know, apply the texture to it, what you would have is you would have an intermediate file, and the intermediate file is supposed to basically kind of construct textures in a way. So what it looks like you would have, and is you would have I think they call it an SVG file. So this is like a vector file, and if you don't know what a vector is, you have when you have a kind of picture, you have two kinds. You have vectors and you have rasters. A raster is basically a pixel, you know, it's just your standard picture. It's got lots of pixels, and if you blow it up, it's going to look really pixelated. A vector is not actually a picture. It's actually a mathematical representation of a picture, basically. And so that way, when you scale it up, it's, you know, you're scaling up a curve, but the curve can always stay a very fine line because you're just looking at, you know, the math of a curve. You're not looking at an actual photo. So with vectors, you can scale them up as big as you want or as small as you want, and you're never going to have any, you know, problems with, you know, losing resolution or anything like that. So anyway, they're saying, okay, we take a texture that is a vector file, okay, and then what you're going to do is, so if you have, say, a table and you want to you want to put your texture on the thing is you would have an intermediate file, and the intermediate file, so you say like, okay, I have a table, I need to put a texture on it. Go to the intermediate file. The intermediate file says, okay, you need wood. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to this vector file, which is far smaller than a traditional texture file, and it's going to sample it, and it's going to say, okay, well, we want to, you know, I'm not just going to apply this directly to the table. What I'm going to do is I'm going to look at it. I'm going to say like, okay, well, I only need this one part of it, so I can slap that on, or I can take this part and I can twist it, or I can take this part and I can kind of like cut it in half and flip the other side. And so what it's going to do is it's just going to take one smaller file and it's going to modulate it in different ways so that it can kind of extrapolate into larger. So you could take like, so for instance, if you, instead of having one giant, you know, picture of wood, you could have 3 smaller pictures of wood. And what it can do is it can overlay them. It can lay them down side by side. It can like delete part of one and then insert a second one into it, you know? So you could kind of have one phase into the other. And so by doing this, it's creating a new texture file basically, and then it can apply that. So instead of having to store it all in storage, you can create your textures in the game when you need them. So that's basically the idea of how this is going to work. It is very complicated. It's very complex. You can look at the thing, you can look at the patent, and it took me a really long time to read through it and kind of understand what's going on here and looking at all the pictures and stuff like that. You can see the pictures up here. They show some samples. The sample that they show is wood, and they show you all the different ways that they can change it. Like they say, okay, you can just take it straight on. You can flip it 90 degrees. You can put a shape into it, so you can like cut a hole out of it. You can erase parts of it to kind of lighten it up a bit. You can cut it and then set 2 sets at an angle, so it kind of creates this V shape. And you can do all these different things to create, and then these all can act as different textures, basically. But you don't have to save each one as a different texture. You just have the one and modulate it. So that's pretty cool. Now I do have a question as to, would this affect rendering time? Because if I'm just like, okay, this is my texture file, I just go straight to the texture file, you know, that's easy. If I'm having to recreate a texture every single time, I feel like that might take some time. But hopefully I'm guessing that with higher processing powers and things like that of these newer consoles, that will be reduced. So kind of interesting thing there. The other thing that they had was a new kind of patent for a way you could do a controller. So what it was is it was a grid of components, and each part of the grid, each node connects to the nodes around it. And the idea is that each node understands its position relative to every other node. And so, you know, if you're looking at it, it's like, this doesn't look like a controller at all. But the idea is that this could have a lot to do with haptics. So we know that with the PlayStation 5, they added haptic feedback. And it looks like they're trying to get further into that. One of the things that they say that you can do is, for example, I just coincidentally have a controller here. But like, for example, if you have a controller and you shake it, it can read that because there's an accelerometer. But if I shake it this way, or if I shake it this way, it can't tell the difference. It just knows it's being shaken because there's only one accelerometer in here. But here, because you'd have different components in different parts of it, you know, if I'm shaking it this way, or if I'm shaking it this way, it can feel like, oh, this side is accelerating in a different way than this side. And so it can feel like how you're shaking it. In theory, you could also have a controller that you could maybe twist or bend and that sort of thing. So yeah, it's really cool. And then also it says like each individual component could vibrate in different ways. So, you know, you could have different parts of the controller vibrating in different ways and stuff like that. So kind of a cool little thing. It is kind of confusing. It is really out there, and it is a lot of technical stuff, but I thought it was really interesting to see some of these patents. So I just wanted to kind of bring them up. Yeah, will we see this in future Sony tech, the texture thing? I wouldn't be surprised if they can get it to work, if they would do that. This controller thing, I don't know if they'd use it or not. They might not. A lot of times we've seen several Sony patents in the past where they come up with an idea and then they never do anything with it. Because this is very much it's better to have and not need than need and not have kind of game. So yeah, they always want to make sure that they have what they need. So anyway, I thought this was kind of an interesting little thing. So I just wanted to share it.
Thanks for sharing. The storage thing is interesting, and like as you were talking, my initial response was like, Man, why would you need that? Storage is so cheap these days. I remember when it used to be $2 per gigabyte, and now it's like 50 cents a gigabyte. But that being said, as well, like I mean, it is like depending on your economic level as well. Like you get like a starter $400-500 PC, and I'm talking about US dollars here, right? You'll probably get it'll come with like 2 terabytes of storage. Windows 11 itself will use up to like 50 gigabytes. Who knows what Windows 12 is going to use at some point in the future. Then you've got storage for like videos and stuff you download, music, whatever it is. Like that storage can go fast. Your typical Call of Duty, the last Call of Duty was 382 gigabytes. That's one game on its own. So yeah, it kind of makes sense. I can imagine like if you saved up your money as a teenager or a 20-year-old and you don't have a lot of money, like yeah, you don't want to spend 180 to 100 or I mean $80 up basically for additional storage for a computer. We might not know how to put it inside. So yeah, no, I can definitely see the application of the storage tech.
Well, yeah, and I mean, like, we literally just shared a meme the other day online about it's got Willem Dafoe, and it's like, you know, he's like, I deleted every game on my system, and you say I still don't have enough in memory. Do you not know what I have sacrificed? You know, so that was a pretty great meme. But yeah, I mean, yeah, I think the idea is people are saying like, oh my god, like, you know, people, you see it all the time. People are like, oh my god, this new Call of Duty is 120 gigabytes. What the heck, you know? And I think the idea is like, okay, we don't need it to be 120 gigabytes. We can get it down to 60, or 80, or however many. I don't know what rate it's going to be reduced by. But that's the idea, is that, you know, file sizes are just going to be smaller. It's not going to have. I don't think it would have a huge impact on performance or anything like that. But yeah, it's just you could store more games on your computer.
More games is always a good thing. All right, let me move on to my story very quickly. So my story today is a game that I was very much looking forward to. I'm like, okay, this is the cozy game I'm going to cover for the end of July. Unfortunately, when I saw it initially, I'm like, this doesn't look as great as I expected it to. And then I'm like, okay, let's wait for the reviews. And the reviews came out like, okay, yeah, it's pretty bad. So, Tales of the Shire, right, is a cozy Hobbit life sim. There's no RPG combat fighting and stuff here. It is kind of a role-playing game. You are playing as the role of a hobbit. But it's a game, so basically the underlying, like if you get anything from today's video, is that if you love Lord of the Rings, if you love cozy games, this is perfect for you. If you just love cozy games, this is a no. If you just love Lord of the Rings, this is a no. So it's a cozy game, right? There's cooking, there's decorating, there's foraging, there's building relationships. The world captures the peaceful charm of Hobbiton, tons of dialogues, aesthetics, and lore. So really good things. There's a bunch of like quality of life stuff that's been in the genre since Stardew Valley, where like, hey, I'm catching 10 carp. In Tales of the Shire, it's going to be each carp is going to take up an inventory space, right? As opposed to let's stack it on top. Well, let's have stacks of things, right? Where like, okay, this is going to be a stack of 5. This is going to be a stack of 10. This is like basic cozy game stuff, right? Because inventory space is important. But no, in Tales of the Shire, there are no inventory stacks. It's the best thing that I've seen from reviews, from Steam reviews, is like, yes, cooking is awesome, cooking is fun. I mean, talking about graphics turning off, like this, the graphics don't look great. Like, I don't know why this game, like this was published by Private Division, which has a whole bunch of very famous IPs in them, and they greenlit this looking the way it does. Like, it just blows my mind, right? So even like this feels like a cozy game light in many ways, because even like the relationships and the romance stuff is like, hey, this is what you need to do, and it's there's no depth to it at all. It's like Impalia, right? Like, as I'm talking to somebody, I need to talk to them every single day. Like, again, this is an established mechanic in cozy games, and then as I talk to them, options are going to open up. Like, then I can start to give them gifts, right? Then I need to find those gifts, because gifts are not buyable in a shop. And Tales of the Shire does not have anything like that. People have mentioned performance issues as well. So on like a decent mid-range system like I have with a 9600 AMD processor and a 5700, 5070 AMD graphics card, right? Like a new generation graphics card. People have noticed frame drops. It doesn't run well. And I mean, this game is not even in early access. Like I played Titan Quest 2. Check out the video today. That game, of course, right? It's version 0.1. Fine. You are allowed to have graphics issues when you're version 0.1. But when you're 1.0, and this game was supposed to launch last year and they delayed it until this year. So almost a 1 year delay, and they still didn't fix a lot of these issues. That's very unfortunate. So all of this being said, right, is this game will work for some people, right? Like there's games for everyone. There are games where the majority of people are going to dislike a game, but actually you might love it. So check it out, read some of these own reviews by yourselves and make a decision. Like maybe you just don't have a game. Maybe you don't like Palia. Maybe you don't want to do puzzles, because I'm loving Palia, but I hate puzzles a lot. Like I just want to do the farming. I want to sell stuff. I want to buy stuff, which is why I'm looking forward to Story of Seasons, the Grand Bazaar. This game is definitely without the puzzles, but it just, the looks might turn you off, the performance might turn you off, the simplicity of it all might turn you off, the things that most cozy games have gotten used to, have adopted into them, the systems that they have, and the lack of those systems in Tales of the Shire might turn you off. But yeah, have a look. Let me know if you played it. Maybe let me know if you think it is actually good and you're enjoying it. I'd love to know.
Yeah, I don't know. I've seen nothing but bad news.
Yeah.
Anytime anybody talks about this game.
Me too. It's unfortunate because I thought the idea of it. I remember when I saw like an E3 trailer, probably not E3, but like some sort of trailer a few years ago. I'm like, cool, this looks nice. I like the idea of it. And then like looking at a trailer like about a month ago, I'm like, why does this not look very sharp? I would rather they have done this in a pixel art style than what it currently looks like.
Yeah, was it with I don't know. I mean, I'm pretty sure there were some good games back on the PS2 or something, but it seems like Lord of the Rings is kind of a weird IP in that it either does really, really well, like the Shadow of Mordor games, or it's just Gollum or this.
Yeah.
It's like, why is that? It's just, yeah, I don't know. It's weird.
I think that they've done the thing which what Games Workshop did, which is like, hey, here's this amazing Warhammer franchise. Have at it. And the variety of Games Workshops and Warhammer games are like between like really sucky to really amazing.
Probably true. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think Lord of the Rings, the estate has done the same thing, right? Where they're like, hey, do you want to make this? Go ahead. And so they have. Thankfully, the TV show is still pretty good and it's going well. I just hope the Amazon continues to foot the bill for $250 million a season, something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's I guess it kind of reminds me of something Stephen King once said, where somebody was asking him about like, oh, aren't you worried about a movie doing well? And he's like, no, I don't really care, because if the movie does well, people are like, that Stephen King is a genius. And if the movie does terribly, they say, well, the book was better. So either way, I win.
I love that. That is so smart.
Yeah, so he's like, what do I care? Like,
did you ever watch The Dead Zone in the early 2000s?
the TV show?
Yes, TV show.
I saw a few episodes. My girlfriend at the time was really into it.
Nice. I love that. I really wish they'd make a remake. Adam, so time for your opinions. You're in the hot seat.
Yeah, I got opinions. Huh? Yeah.
Do AAA companies not understand that people liking your game equals people will spend more money?
Okay, I think AAA games completely understand the idea that people will pay money if they enjoy your games. I think they understand it a little too well, which is why they are so risk adverse, because they're like, oh, we know you guys love this, and that made money, so let's do that again, you know, because you know, like taking a risk, you don't know if it's going to work or not. You don't, you know, it might resonate, it might get a huge fan base, it might get a small fan base and have a cult following, or you might end up with a game that just doesn't resonate at all. But you know, if Assassin's Creed worked the last 5 times, it's gonna work another time. So yeah, I think they really do. I think they do understand that if you have fun, you're going to enjoy the games. I think that they are just so risk adverse that they always play it safe, and they're like, well, let's make it fun enough, and let's not take that risk that it could be great or it could be terrible. So I think they understand. I think it's just that's not their greatest concern.
That makes sense. Thank you very much. And the last question for today, compared to other real life hobbies, why does gaming seem to consume and require more hours than any other hobby combined, yet still feel less memorable?
Okay, well, for me, that's not the case. For instance, I went to Greece. We went to Santorini. I remember that I drove a Twingo car, and it was fantastic, and I love Twingo cars. It was really fun. I remember seeing the Pantheon, and I also remember that World of Final Fantasy went up for pre-orders that week. So, you know, I definitely remember, you know, that's a very vivid memory for me going to Greece. So that's not necessarily my experience. But if I had to guess, as a teacher, you learn that actually people have different learning intelligences. So you have visual intelligence, you have auditory intelligence, you also have what we call a kinesthetic intelligence, and you have different learnings. So some people are better, they're visual learners. You know, they see something in a book, they read it, they get it. Other people are auditory learners. They need to explain to them. If you can explain to them in your voice, they'll understand it. I myself am a kinesthetic learner. I need to be using my hands. If you just stand up there and give me a speech, I'm going to absorb nothing. I need to physically have my hands into it to understand it. And I think that is possibly why, because with video games, you're mostly sitting in a chair. Yes, you're using your hands. Yes, you're using your eyes. Yes, you're using your ears. But if I'm doing rock climbing, I'm also using my legs. I'm also using my arms. I'm using a much larger part of my body. And because of that, I'm engaging a much larger portion of my brain and my motor skills and that sort of thing. So I think when you're doing those other kind of hobbies, because you're engaging more parts of your body, that is not, it's leaving an impression on a much larger portion of your brain. And that might be why for some people, video games just aren't as memorable as other activities, because they're not engaging certain parts of their brain, like their feet, that they might be if they're playing soccer.
I love that answer. All right, very good. So, Adam, I will mention this, right? Because I think we did mention that we might lose you for a Tuesday, but apparently this is no longer the case, right? We'll have you until October 28th, where you are off to the US on vacation.
Yep.
For a bit. So that's wonderful news. Again, like, it just means less stuff for me to prepare ahead before of time. So one thing to mention, as I did mention at the start of today's show, is that Adam's releasing his latest new video, so stay tuned for that, releasing on August 11th. That being said, as you know, we're like, with a new video, we like to promote it, give it the best chance to breathe and attract attention. Adam's very famous short on Instagram at the moment, which continues to bring us in subscribers. I'm almost at 400 followers, not subscribers on Instagram. So next week, when we're doing the show, we will not have, so any of the videos next week, Tuesday, are going to be saved for October when Adam is away, possibly, if we don't have other videos we record before then. So next week, if you're tuning into the live show, none of those videos, none of the shorts will air that week. Next week will all be catered for Adam's video, which you can probably guess what it is. You've been following the live streams. But I'll save the surprise for next week. And Adam, any final thoughts about today? Gaming thoughts, Death Stranding thoughts?
No, not really. Yeah.
Okay, very good. Then everyone, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for Adam. I hope you enjoy Adam's new clarity today. I am loving it. I'm looking forward to more Gundam questions now that people can see it more clearly in the background.
There's some Godzillas there too. Hello, you know, to give those guys credit as well.
See, that's the thing. It's like, I can't. Godzilla is a larger franchise than. I mean, Gundam's a larger franchise than Godzilla, right?
It's got more entries. I don't know if it's financially the larger one. I mean, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. That would be a tough one. Godzilla, I was looking it up. I was like, what is it? Because I was like, Godzilla's been running forever.
Godzilla is older, but it's more niche, I think.
Well, yeah, but I was like looking it up, and I was like, I was looking at, I was like, is Godzilla the longest running movie franchise? And of the major movies, there's like one Chinese film where the guy has like hundreds of them, but it's like only in China, and it's like these really kind of like low budget films. Um, but yeah, Godzilla is probably one of the largest franchise in terms of the number of movies that it has. It's been around for a really long time.
Yes.
We're getting American made Godzilla movies before we're getting American made Gundam movies. So yeah, I don't really know. I mean, Gundam sells the model kits, so but you know, I've Godzilla models too. But yeah, like t-shirt sales, there's probably just as many Godzilla t-shirts out there as there are Gundam t-shirts. So yeah, it's hard to say really which one is bigger.
But maybe, I mean, maybe for our audience, maybe for our age group, Gundam is the thing, and whereas Godzilla is, I'm not sure. Like, it's just, it's amazing that we have not had one Godzilla question, but I can't even count on my
They're
hands
harder to
and
see,
toes.
and they're harder to identify. I mean, they're kind of like blobby on the screen. If you're not like that, is clearly Mothra.
Yes.
That is
Well,
obvious.
yeah.
That's Shin
the
Godzilla.
Gundams
These are
all
just
at the
regular
top.
Godzillas. So they're a little bit harder to see.
That makes sense,
Yeah, you look at that, you're like, oh, duh, it's a Gundam. But you look at that and you're like, what is that? I don't know. That's Mothra, clearly. But I love it.
Maybe we need more Godzilla figurines.
I do. I need way
You
more.
could take down the Gundam, some of the
No.
Gundams, at least the second shelf.
No, I need a new
one-
shelf. I need another shelf over here, and I need to expand.
Okay, I'm down with that.
I don't need to take down anything. Everything that's up there stays there. I just need more space.
Dude. Anyway, like I could keep asking questions about this, but that is beyond the point. Thank you everyone for tuning in. Thank you as always for the support. Please support Adam's video release next week. Reshare it, like it, watch the whole video if you can. I mean, YouTube loves that stuff. Especially watch time is so important these days. So please do watch it, and then we will see you guys next week, Tuesday or Monday evening at the same time. Thank you, and see you then.